Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Enjoyed the Easter break. If you celebrate Easter or the time off with your family and friends, I'm sure plenty of chocolates were had. Right, yeah, let's jump over to the calendar and see what we have coming up this week. Very little in the way of news this week. Wednesday, we have high impact news at 9:45, and Thursday, we have high impact news at 8:30. Really the only two news drivers there this week. So we're going to have Monday, Tuesday, and Friday with no news. Still, we can look to trade these days. There's no issue with that. We just anticipate potentially lower to medium probability trades. And maybe it's a good idea if you are so inclined to wait until the 9:30 open to get that volatility injection and then look for your positions after that open. So quiet day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday news, Thursday news, and then Friday no news. Alrighty, let's jump over to the charts. And we're going to start off, we'll have a quick look at this beautiful London setup that played out. Even though it's a public holiday in London, the market still moved. It isn't today. It's not a public holiday in the US for Monday, but we had this lovely move during the London session here, right off the high at London into a higher time frame point of interest. SMT with ES from this high here to this high. So ES made a higher high. And then we see our FEG aligned with our breaker. And this pretty much the same setup was, through to the 1 minute, just about. And this is on the 5-minute chart. And then we just had a beautiful short. If you ran the stop to the high, 2R would have seen you around this level here. But you could have taken that trade down to the Asia low. That's where would be the logical low there. And you got a nice 3R out of that trade, 3.3R there. So a great little trade. This is the model I like to trade. We've got the SMT, the breaker. We've also got a change in state of delivery with an FEG aligned from a high time frame point of interest. Beautiful little setup right there. Alrighty, let's move on from that. Let's move out to the weekly. We'll start on the weekly chart as we do every Monday. So we did have an inside bar last week. These lows through here being respected. What a bearish week there. Did we have an SMT? No, ES was also an inside bar, so it didn't take the high. So we had, obviously came off a very strong week. Now, we respected the 50% level, and we've continued to do that of this bullish candle here. I would still like to see that take place here. And for now, I'm going to be bearish because I want to see that previous week low swept. That's where I'm looking to. That's the low hanging fruit. That's where I'm looking for price to head to first. Okay. And then if we respect this 50% level, I'm looking for price to run higher from there. Okay. So let's drop down to the daily. So here we have previous week low. That's where I'm looking for price to run to, and likely to even see the Friday low here and potentially even this Thursday low from the previous week as well. Certainly drawn to this previous week low as our low hanging fruit. So I want to see that first and then see how price reacts from there. If we drop to the hourly, we obviously have this we've still got this gap here open as well from last week. But we did gap down today on open. And if we move to the 15-minute, so we still don't have a gap fill there. So we still have this gap open. And we've got these relative equal highs with the Asia high. Potential for a reversal. I'd like to see previous week low swept out first. That's where the gap is inside there. You can see that there. Obviously, we had the public holiday on the Friday, so I'm just getting my bearings there. But looking for previous week low, and then we can see how price reacts. Look for what price is showing us. Okay, at the moment, we're certainly trending down here. So while we continue to do that, until we get a change in the state of delivery, I'll be looking for price to run lower. All right, moving over to ES now. It'll be a similar story here. Let's clear all that off. Let's move to the weekly. So same deal with ES. Want to remain in respect of the 50% level of this week's candle here and sweep out previous week's low, which actually looks like we have already. So we currently have an SMT there. If we go over to the daily, you can see last week's Wednesday was the low of the week, and we have swept that out. So we currently have an SMT. However, I'll be remaining bearish until we do see a change in the state of delivery. So at the moment, if we were going to get that, I'd want to see it here. I want to see price shoot up with displacement and take out this level. Then we can look to fill some of these gaps. Okay, we've got the 15-minute gap here. Got this new week opening gap. And we could even see a change in state of delivery here on the 15-minute potentially if we get some displacement. At the moment, we're not getting that strong reversal signal just yet. We haven't got something engulfing here. So remaining bearish for the time being. Could change between now and New York Open. So we can pivot. We just let price show us its hand, basically. Let's clear out those drawings. Lovely bullish candle closure here, sweeping out all these lows. Swing point candle formation here on the weekly. Played out perfectly. We got that expansion through the following week. So last week was our expansion week here. Up into this bearish FEG. Now, I'm not going to immediately be bearish because I want to check out and see what price does. We want to respect the 50% level of the previous week. And currently, previous week high would be the draw liquidity. So if we move down to the daily, here I want to see price respect this level. Okay, we want to respect the opposing candle here. But we are failing previous day. So last Thursday, we are failing the 50% level. So we're looking for this devil's mark to come into play. I've been looking for price to, let me just draw this out. This we have no wick to the downside here. So this is our devil's mark, and it's also a bullish FEG. So this could play out all right. Looking at previous day low as our draw on liquidity into bullish FEG here on the daily, then look for potential reversal from there. So if we do that, we'll respect this level here as well and seek out this liquidity from this devil's mark into this bullish FEG and see if we get a reversal. I'm going to look at the hourly. So the hourly, we've closed through this bullish FEG, so we've inverted that. And we've also respected this bearish FEG here, so we wicked up into that, and then we've moved straight, pretty much straight lower, little retest, and continue to expand lower. Looking for these equal lows to come in. And here's that devil's mark there. That's the previous day low. So that's what we'll be looking for price to sweep this low. We do have a move here, so we can look at this as a change in state of delivery as well with displacement. And low resistance liquidity all the way through here. So there's no real, other than your swing lows and this devil's mark, we don't have any FEGs to potentially see price find support until we get down to this level here. So it could be a bearish week looking at that. So bearish for oil. Want to see price react to or get down to this low here. Being the previous week low. Alrighty. Jumping over to 6E. I'm just going to show you on the hourly here. We had this marked out from last week, and we actually got that pretty well spot on there. Price moved through the negative 2.5 here. We got the closure through that right here. Nice little retest. Price hasn't looked back. We're now at this negative 4. Great move here. If we move back to the daily, we haven't seen prices up this high for a little while. In fact, we haven't seen them since July 23 is the last time we saw prices this high. That's pretty cool. And we're going to look at this being our level. We're very close to that now. That's also into that bearish FEG there on the daily. It's a weekly high as well. Just look at that expansion. And where do we see insight to order flow? Right here. Here is our insight to order flow. Swing point candle, out of a bullish weekly FEG. Expansion, expansion, expansion. This swing point candle gives you the insight of where price is likely to go. You should be taking notes on that one. So we're already virtually at that high, which is also when we move down to the hourly, our negative 4 expansion. This high is almost reached. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to remain bullish until we see that high reached, and then we'll see what price wants to do from there. We are getting potential swing point candle closure here, and we can see that the strength or the momentum has slowed down a little here. So we may not even reach this high today, but we'll see what happens. Big gap down here. I'm not looking for price to come back down here in the foreseeable few days. Alrighty, let's move over to Dixie being correlated, or inversely correlated, I should say. We can see the same thing applies here. Prices reach down to that -4. We're at the swing lows right now into this bullish FEG. Point of interest. And we're obviously at that -4, which we took off the hourly. Okay, this is off this manipulation leg here. And we are starting to get a swing point candle closure. So looking at that, potential to run back higher into this bullish, this bearish gap here. We'll see how this candle closes. Not immediately going to be bullish here. I'm going to stay bearish until we see how this candle closes. If we get a candle closure here inside the range like we're looking at, then we can, even drop down to say 15-minute, look for potential change in the state of delivery, which would be that level here. And then we can start considering price to want to move higher. Coming over to gold. Gold just on a tear. At all-time highs. Not much to work off there, other than the fact we're at all-time highs. And we are clearly displacing higher. This is a great example of a continuation move. Price closed through this level, retested these opposing candles, and we're expanding higher. If we get the same deal again, we can anticipate price to continue to move higher. I will run with a bullish bias today for gold because I'm not going to trade against this trend. Simple as that. Till we get a reversal signal, I'm not trading against this trend. And if I was going to look for a reversal, I, at this stage, would want to see price close through this level here. I'd want to see something like that, okay, with displacement. Let's jump over to GBP. Much like Euro here. Let's have a look at the weekly. We're at a point of interest. Not quite at a point of interest. Close. We're getting that closure above that -2.5 here, or we've had that on the hourly chart. Or maybe it was on the daily. We drew that out, was it? Oh, it was on the daily, yeah. There we go. So nice little move there on the daily. Once we close through, that'll be today that we close through. Then we can still anticipate price to reach up to this high. So we're going to stay with bullish bias. Let's jump over to crypto, having a look at BTC, I should say. Alrighty, so what do we get? Sunday. We got a swing point candle closure. It wasn't out of a point of interest, which I do prefer to see. Okay, so here's our swing point candle. But we did close back inside the range. Nice buyer's wick. And straight away, we've expanded off of that. Now, I want to see a close above this level and above this level of this 50% level of this wick to see price continue higher. Of course, a close above here would be amazing. And then if we can start continuing to move higher, get some retest, we can potentially look to see price get back into those $90,000 levels. So bullish for Bitcoin. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Remember, you can grab your Tradeify evals and your Apex evals for a discounted rate at the moment. Both till the end of April have sales on. Tradeify with 30 to 40% off, and Apex with 80% off right now. Take care, guys. We will catch you over in Trade Foundry. Bye for now.